If you're one of those people who are still in love with Top Gun Maverick, even 3 weeks after its release, then the film we are going to talk about today will surely interest you. Spiderhead, the latest Netflix release, is directed by Joseph Kosinski, who also directed one of the biggest hits of the year. The sci-fi thriller stars Chris Hemsworth, Miles Teller and Jurnee Smollett in prominent roles and follows two convicts trapped in a facility that lets prisoners get reduced time by volunteering to take mind-altering drugs for experimentation purposes. Together, they grapple with their past and try to survive the mind-bending ordeal before it's too late. This year hasn't been the best for Netflix as most of its films received lukewarm response from the audience. Backed by Thor himself, along with a director as good as Joseph Kosinski, will Spiderhead be able to turn the fortune for Netflix films this year? Let's find out. The film is based on the New Yorker short story Escape from Spiderhead by George Saunders. What makes the concept and idea of the film so urgent is that it isn't set in the distant future. Steve, for instance, uses iPhones to control the dosage of drugs that he injects into the inmates' bloodstreams. And both vehicles that connect the isolated facility to the mainland, a plane and a boat, are contemporary. This makes the premise very relevant in current times. While the premise of Spiderhead is very promising, the film falters in its execution. A secluded state-of-the-art prison run by a charming yet mysterious Chris Hemsworth conducting experiments on the inmates builds up the intrigue, but the steam fizzes out too soon. The setting of a prison on an isolated island also had a lot of potential to build up a claustrophobic and eerie atmosphere. But unlike Shutter Island and The Lighthouse, that use an isolated location brilliantly to create an immersive experience, Spiderhead fails to do so. It opts for a quirky take on something that could have benefited much more from a sinister tone. For the first 45 minutes, the story remains very stagnant. Neither is the world building properly done, nor the introduction of the characters in the film. The first act is extremely stretched out and feels very repetitive in parts. The story picks up pace in the second act and finally starts building the eerie tone through an amazing sound design and impressive lighting. This is where we were able to somewhat connect with the characters and understand the evolving arcs in the film. In the beginning, we perceive Steve as a considerate man who is just doing his job, but as the story progresses, we see who he really is. This was one of the very few roles which gave Chris Hemsworth an opportunity to explore his acting skills. It won't be wrong to say that Steve is the one who binds the films together with his eccentric portrayal of a psychopath who knows what he wants and will go to any extent to get that. We had a lot of hope from Joseph Kosinski, who is a potent director and has garnered a lot of praise with his brilliant direction in the recently released Top Gun Maverick. But here, Kosinski falters and a lot of his creative choices don't really pay off, whether it is the pacing of the film, the tone, or even the manner in which the themes are explored. It feels as if the film just touches upon the topics of free will and morality and raises questions without intending to answer them. It could have been so much more interesting if he tried to explore the themes through these characters and their actions. Even though a lot of sci-fi films do not focus on character arcs and developments, Spiderhead does try to give the characters the center stage. But that is done in such a sluggish manner that it never becomes compelling. One thing that I liked about the film was its technical aspects. The production design was impressive and reminded me of Ex Machina, which through a very similar secluded setting told a much more compelling and thought-provoking story. This is where Spiderhead lacked. Even with good cinematography and sound design, it wasn't able to build that unsettling sci-fi atmosphere that makes you very uncomfortable and queasy. At multiple points in the film, I couldn't help but compare Spiderhead with Ex Machina, which tries to explore a lot of similar themes but is miles apart in execution. Both Steve and Nathan are cool and composed scientists and are harboring uncontrolled ambitions without thinking about the repercussions of their creations. But what Hemsworth did cannot be compared to what Oscar Isaac was able to deliver through his performance. But even though Kosinski provides a rather satisfying twist by the end, it still leaves the viewers with an unsatisfying sci-fi experience. The things that work for the film are few and far in between, as it mostly disappoints, especially considering the fact that the film had potential to be worthwhile and become something interesting. The experience of watching a good sci-fi film remains with you long after the film is over, but Spiderhead is a forgettable film that doesn't leave any mark on the audience as the final credits roll. When you watch the film, you can feel that a short story has been stretched too far in order to make a feature film. More than a film, the plot would have been much more exciting had it taken the shape of a short film or a miniseries. Our final rating for the film is 2.5 stars. If you're a massive fan of Chris Hemsworth, you can opt to watch the film to see him do something different and eccentric. But otherwise, it's a fine one-time watch that doesn't fully reach its potential. Do tell us your thoughts on the film and the review in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Cinema Explorer for more exciting content.